Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here, and today we are going to look at the newly released Directory Opus version 13. Just hit today, and I am very excited to share this with you. We're going to go through installation. We're going to talk about all the new features. We're going to talk about some other stuff. It should be a good time. It'll probably be a longer video, but fortunately, the Directory Opus folks will just take as much video as they can get of this stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, let's get started by looking at, first off, a brand new website for Directory Opus. God bless them. It looks very nice. And we're going to go ahead and download that. Very simple. Just go to hit download and boom, boom, boom. That's it. Now you get a 60-day trial if you register, or 30 days if you don't. So registration's super easy. It's free, blah, blah, blah. The other thing we're going to need is something called Everything. Now, this is optional, but I'm going to be talking about it during the video. So if you're not already using Void Tools Everything, also free, I would go ahead and get that installed as well. Now, I've already downloaded these guys, right? So we can go ahead and just go ahead and get started. I'm going to open up Everything first. This is very quick and easy. Now, Everything is a tool that constantly indexes your file structure. This allows you to do some amazing things that Windows Indexing Service and even Directory Opus itself can't handle for you. So we're going to go ahead and do that, get a UAC up, run everything, great. Now what it's doing now is it's going to go ahead and scan. Now I'm on a virtual machine, so everything's a little bit slower. But I assure you that one of the great things about this tool, even standalone outside of Directory Opus, is it is a hella fast file finding tool. Everybody needs something like this. There's a couple of these on the market. Of course, Windows has something built in, but I assure you that you're going to be wanting to do this. Now we're going to go ahead and run the installer for Opus. I know I kind of did that in an unconventional way. All right, so we're done with the browsers. Okay, so here is the new setup for Directory Opus 13. As you can see, we have a nice long agreement. You might want to read this. I have not gone through it yet. But, you know, anytime there's a new EULA, you might want to go ahead and check that out. We're going to install it in its default location. We'll take that desktop shortcut for now, and we're off. Again, this is a VM, and it's slow, so this is a pretty quick process. We'll go ahead and launch. Okay, so here's the first. I love the fact that they highlight this right away. One of the biggest complaints right off the cuff with Directory Opus is, where's the dark mode? I need a dark mode. Well, they listened, they heard, and it's actually now part of the installer. How beautiful is that? Okay, so it can replace your Explorer, which is good to go. Run when you start Windows. Yes. Desktop double click. Now, if you're using Stardock's fences, it conflicts with that, which is unfortunate, but otherwise, this works great. Use the Directory Opus image viewer. I love that they added this as an option because every time I open an image on my Windows machine, I have to go ahead and reassociate it with Directory Opus. So this is fantastic. Good stuff. Go ahead and hit OK. All right, so here we go. This is it. I mean, okay, that's it. I just paid like $60 US, and this is it, huh? I'm going to go ahead and open this up. We've got so much to talk about, but before we actually get into the meat and bones, I want to cover a few of the configuration type scenarios. All right, so if you look underneath settings, there's two major settings items that you're going to be using while you're customizing and making Directory Opus yours. One of them is preferences. The other one is the customize. So these are two different things. We're going to start off with preferences. Now, they've actually included a wizard here, which is great because a lot of people aren't exactly sure the difference between customize and file types. Before we dig in here, I'd also like to point out that up here on this window is now a quick and easy way to either confirm or exit preferences. This is brand new, and it's helpful because this window can get lost and then people are in this weird mode where they can't figure out what's going on. So that's also great. Click for a few important tips on preferences so you can get some extra information here. We're not going to look at that because we're going to talk about it. So this page list is the main way to navigate between preference pages. There's a lot of preferences. Opus is nothing else if not almost 100% customizable across the board. When they say use the search field, they're not kidding. This is how you're going to find stuff. Believe me, This is your friend, and to be honest with you, every application on the planet should adopt this. If you have more than like one page of preferences, you should have a search. All right, so it's saying you can search for dark mode, and it actually filters everything out and just shows you what it is that you searched for. All right, the page header shows the current page name, back and forward arrows through page history, just like a browser. And you have this eye to hide this info toast or top banner when you've read it. And if you want the changes to take effect right away. So normally when you change preferences, you hit OK, it closes everything, and then the application accepts the new preferences. You can actually do it in real time, similar to hitting the apply button. But this makes it even easier. All right. And then this opens up the page menu, so you can undo changes, revert changes, and things of that nature. And this is the introduction to preferences. So now we're here, and let's go ahead and start off by typing in font. So one of the things that people are seemingly interested in is changing the font of the application. If you're going to be staring at this thing for 4, 5, 6 hours a day, it makes sense. Now, in the old directory Opus, you could change fonts, but it was sort of limited. First, let's take a look here. This is every place where the word font appears inside of the preferences. How great is that, right? So here, this is a list of all the things that you can change fonts on. Not just the listers, not just the dialog boxes, but pretty much everything. So this is extraordinary. We're not going to sit here and monkey with a whole bunch of fonts and changes, but those of you who are begging for it, asking for it, I need more font control, it's all right here. And of course, you can also use the mouse wheel and control to adjust fonts and thumbnail sizes. Oh, well, I could use that right away for this demo. All right, so I could go in here and I can actually, hey, look at that. That's great. I'll do the same thing on this side, make it nice and big so I can see it. And then you can make that permanent. Whoop, a little bit big on that one, make permanent. Too big. Great. How about that? Nice, right? Okay, so let's talk about favorites. This is really nice. So pretty much almost everywhere throughout the system, you're going to see little stars here that you can tag as favorites. This is sort of a universal app thing. So if you decide you're going to be playing in fonts a lot, why not favorite it so that you can find it easier next time? And you'll find out that these stars are everywhere, and you're going to see them more and more as we are looking at them. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that. So you can see there's a favorites bar. These are all things that are customized out of the box. You have your tree view and you have double lister. Before we move on though, I do want to show some stuff in Customize. This is fantastic. First of all, both Customize and Preference got this beautiful new overhaul. Everything looks clean. Everything acts clean. Things are a lot better laid out. They're easier to see. There's user commands now, which is kind of nice. So you can actually add your own user commands. I'm not going to go into detail. That'll be a future video. But there's tons and tons of stuff here to do. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize Opus can do is something called system-wide hotkeys. In other words, as long as Opus is sitting down in your system tray, running in the background, which is probably going to be the case, you have access to all sorts of hotkeys. And you can have system-wide hotkeys, things that can control almost anything. For example, I use a shell command called near command that will allow you to pretty much adjust anything on your computer through the command line. I can actually assign changing my speakers to my headset and back using a system-wide hotkey. So no matter where I'm at, what application I'm in, I hit Control F1, my speakers kick on. If I hit Control F2, then it turns on my headset. It's fantastic. There's so many things that you could do with these hotkeys and such, and it makes it so much easier now. It looks a lot better too. I do like the way that they've got this laid out. Everything looks a lot cleaner. So that's great. That's another nice little feature. So let's go ahead and get into the listers. So listers are lists of directories and files. Now you can see as I click on each one of these, I shift from one color to another. This is a dual pane file manager. One pane and lister is always the source. The other one is the destination. When you do file actions like copy, move, whatever, you're actually doing it from the source to the destination. And we're going to get more into that in just a minute. First up, though, let's take a look. If you're an old school Directory Opus person, you probably see these carets on the side. Well, that's a little bit different. Let's go to the desktop where I've got some Directory Opus 13 files. Now, you notice when I clicked over here, this is the one that changed. That's because this is the source. If this was the source and I click desktop, this would get it. If this is the source, then anything you do in that tree will affect that lister. Now, you can make a dedicated folder tree per lister if you like. I've gotten kind of used to just sharing one, to be honest with you. All right, so let's go ahead and go in here. And so if you wanted to see or peek what's in the audios, you could kind of hover over it and it would show you what's in there. Or if you would like to maintain your folder structure while you're digging along, you can hit that caret. And then you can hit that caret and then that caret. This is starting to look a lot like grouped view or flat view with groupings. And it is, but it's on a selection by selection basis. We're going to talk more about flat view in another video. But essentially it gives you access to all of these items inside of the folder without actually having to dig into the folder and keep yourself in the top level folder structure. I love that. So let's go ahead and, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I'm not a side-by-side guy. I'm a horizontal guy. And so you have a quick dual horizontal button. Much better. I couldn't handle that. I'm going to go ahead and bring this over so we have a little more room to look. And I'm going to drag this toolbar, the one that has all my major commands. I'm going to drag that. Oops. It used to be draggable. Let me go ahead and go into customize. That's a little something different. Let me go to customize. Now you got the little edges. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to put it right in between the file listers. Now remember, see the customize window disappeared? Look at that. But it's up here. You can actually say yes. I love that. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for fixing that and doing that for us. Okay, so now we have right here, we have our two listers, we have our tree, everything is good. So we have here a bunch of MP3s and FLACs, right? So I have a variation. Let me go ahead and let's just dig into that folder. There we go. So we have all of these items here. Now I can highlight them and you'll see at the bottom, hey, look at this. It shows that there's 4 MP3s and 2 FLACs. Well, that's pretty cool in the status bar down here, right? Right where I'm at, right below me. That's pretty neat. And if you hover this, it'll actually show you a breakdown of FLACs versus MP3s. Well, that's neat, but we're not done yet. That would be cool. But if you click it, file type summaries, look how awesome this is. So now it's not just file count, but size. It's a big difference, right? You can show it by groups. In this case, they're all music. So we're going to do it by extensions. You can do all files, but you know, this isn't a flat view or anything. So you could just turn it off and then show all files versus selected files. There's all sorts of good stuff. And that's like free out of the box. And that's already turned on. In Opus 13's beta, it was not. And in fact, in that video, I showed you how to turn it on. In this case, it's already set and ready to go. So that's great. That just took one of my whole item out the door for me. Thumbnail enhancements. Okay, so let's go ahead and get somewhere that would need thumbnails like photos. Now you have various different view modes, one of them being thumbnail mode. Okay, that's thumbnails, and I like it. I like it a lot. Those of you who are old school Directory Opus fans know that there's a thumbnail slider that you can increase or decrease the size. And of course, there's some presets here for you if you like. And of course, that control and mouse wheel will let you do this as well, which is kind of cool too. So many, many ways to do what you want. Now, this can bother some people and it kind of bothers me. There's a lot of spacing and stuff because I have irregular aspect ratios. This is kind of a square. This is more of a portrait. Everything else is landscape. There's some stuff we can do about that. So let's go into preferences and we're going to type in thumbnail. Told you this was the way to go. I can't type around my microphone, thumbnail. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Thumbnails. Look at that. There's our special starred fonts. We could also star thumbnails if we like. Okay, so let's take a look at this. There's a ton of things we can do here. And I'm not going to cover everything, but what you're probably going to be interested in is resize mode. In here, you can actually choose, say, fit but only reduce, never upscale. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what that did, but okay, it was smooth upscaling. Okay. Pixelated upscaling. Okay, so it looks more like a quality scenario. But here's the stuff you're going to be looking into. Resize and crop. Hey. Well, look at that. Now all my thumbnails are universally sized. Doesn't that look a lot better? Let me be like your eye doctor. A or B? Which looks better? A or B? So, yeah, I mean, these are little quality of life enhancements, and Directory Opus is a deliverer of quality of life when it comes to file management. Almost everything you could possibly want is in there. It's unbelievable. Let me see if I had anything else I wanted to talk about. Folder thumbnails. This is something that is interesting. So thumbnails can be generated for folders, right? So if I were to go back and put this into, oops, not lock, put this in visual mode. See, you got, it sort of shows you a preview of what's in the folder, right? So you can do some things like overwrite those. You can change these into whatever you want. So it says display thumbnails for folders, right? We can preview that right away. Ah, I like that. Or use Windows folder thumbnails when possible. Exclude folders with custom icons, blah, blah, blah. All sorts of stuff you can do. But you can override these folders and put in there what you want. Now, that's something we could do for another video, but I did want you to see that you can do custom styles. You can do all sorts of stuff. There's a million things you can do to affect these thumbnails. I just wanted to point it out that it is something new that you can do inside of the new Directory Opus, but we're not going to go crazy and fix a lot of those. If you want to see another video, leave a comment and we can decide what we want to look at next in detail. Now, here's something that's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to go into Photos and I'm going to go into my Details view, and I'm going to turn on a ton of columns. Now, one of the nice things about Opus is there's no end to the number of columns or types of columns that you can add. If you are a photographer, if you are into photography, if you deal with pictures and photos all day long, you're going to want to take a look at some of this stuff that is allowable to add as a column. Look at these things: picture dimensions, picture metadata, right? You can include crazy stuff like focal lengths and camera make and model, right? So I can add, so these all came from my Samsung phone. The other ones don't have a camera make. I can add, let's see, what else can I add? And there's a reason I'm adding all these columns, because I need it. Dimensions. Oh, that's handy, right? And but you could also have dimensions one at a time, right? So you could have just the width, because sometimes you want to sort by width. You don't really care, but you can't sort by width properly or height properly if you're sharing the column with both values, right? So it'd be very handy to be able to have width and height as different elements that you could sort off of. Because you sort off by height, you could have widths that are off based on the aspect ratio of your photos, right? So I'm going to add one more column here. And by the way, this isn't just for photos. Like, everything on the planet is available in here. You can even do checksum calculations, all sorts of stuff. Let me see here. What could I do? Well, that's all going to be camera specific. How about, I don't know, aspect ratio group? Perfect. Okay, so now you can see I've gotten to the point now where I'm scrolling. And so you could, right? So you could say that the most important thing to me today is height and width, because that's how I'm processing files today. And maybe camera make is something that's less important to you. You do want the date. That's probably important. All right. So now, sometimes though, you may be interested in which camera you use. So you'd have to scroll over there. And if you cared about it today, you'd have to move it over. If you wanted to be able to see the file name and other stuff. So this is pretty cool. If you were to, let's do something called column freeze. This is so great. So let's say that you wanted to keep this column even when you're scrolling. All right, so if you right click this column, you can freeze columns to here. This turns blue, and now check this out. Nice, right? It's sort of like Excel when you can freeze a row that you want to keep in view. And of course, you can freeze up to as many as you want. right? So now if I really needed to see these items along with my camera, I could scroll over here and check that out. That's awesome, right? This is little quality of life stuff you probably didn't know you had to have. And that once you have it, you'll be like, oh my God, I don't have to sacrifice how many columns I have or zoom down so I can see more, right? So you have a lot more options this way. I'm going to keep it a little bit bigger since we're working with it. It's amazing. Now, here's something that blew my mind. It'll probably blow your mind too. I'm going to go ahead and get this down so I can see all of my columns. Probably don't need that attributes, huh? Now, if you want to say, send a list of all of these to somebody, right? You could print the folder. There is a print folder command, print or export folder listings, but sometimes I just need to send something quick. If you hold down the control and you right drag, this weird yellowish color shows up and you grab these, right? Copy to clipboard. What? Really? With names, with headings, with names and headings. Boom. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and open Notepad so you can actually see it. Oh, leftover stuff. And paste. CSV. Look at that. CSV listing you can easily pull into Excel or bring into a database or whatever you want to do with it. Blew my mind away. Copy export on a selective basis. So great. It's actually a lot easier than the print export folder listings. You have to do some crazy stuff to get this the way you want it. And I find myself having to do it over and over and over and over again, but this will work on a full-blown folder level. So I recommend taking a look at this. Lots of stuff you can do. You can customize how you want it outputting, all sorts of stuff, how you want to print it, whatever. And you can do flat views, calculating folder sizes and all that good stuff. So it's there if you need it. This is great though. All right, so we've kind of looked at the lister enhancements for this one, right? So we've talked about how these listers have improved over time. I'm going to put myself back into this mode and zoom myself up again, and we'll make that permanent. Great. So file copying is file copying, right? I mean, we file copy all the time. Usually it's copy paste, or you're using File Manager on Windows, File Explorer, which is a complete nonsense. Once you've used a dual pane lister or a dual pane file manager for a while, you'll never ever be able to use File Manager again. It'll just make you mental. So I have two different server locations. One is on my server box, and the other one's on server box 2. Now inside of each one of these, okay, so inside of this one, I have a copy of the demo files that I'm using. Down here, I'm going to put the other location. All right, so let's look carefully. I've got two network shares, Z and Y, and they are, I'm going to open this up a little bit, they are on two different locations on two different servers. Typically speaking, when you're doing copy operations like with Directory Opus 12 or other file managers, what you're doing is sort of a local copy and then deploying it to the new location. What do I mean by that? So if I were to grab the files that are sitting here on Z, oops, didn't mean to do that. Undo. If I were to grab these files and hit copy, what it will do normally is bring the file to me first and then deploy it to the new location, right? So even though I'm copying from Z to Y, which is server box to server box 2, it's round tripping to me first. That can really slow you down, especially if your network locations are in the cloud, they're somewhere else, they're sitting in a NAS, right, across your network. It doesn't sound like it would make a big deal, but it can. So when I copy now between two servers, compliments of Opus 13, I am no longer copying to my local machine. I am actually copying from server to server. It reaches out and instantiates a copy job from server box to server box 2. So if the pipe between those two servers is fast, the copy will be extraordinarily fast. If you're not using this server to server copy action, then what'll happen is it's got to come to you first. That could be really, really slow depending on your internet connection. And then sending it back up, which could even be more slow depending on your upload speed. So this doing a server to server copy is absolutely fantastic. Now, while we're doing this, this lengthy copy, I'd like to point out something interesting is going on down here. There's some gray files. These are files that haven't copied yet. These are placeholders, or I call them ghosts. These ghosts are sitting here telling you what eventually will be here. And that's really neat. And the status bar actually catches up, already knows that ahead of time. So it is doing this copy. And if I were to look in photos, these are gray. Audio, you can see it's done with the audio. Let's see, let me open all these up here. Videos. Okay, so you can see the ones that have copied, but you can see things that have not copied. So it's pretty neat. It's a neat thing. And of course, the Directory Opus file copying tool is absolutely fantastic. It's very verbose, and it has some unattended features. I'm sorry, I'm on this virtual machine and it's making me crazy. If you click unattended, all sorts of bad things can happen, right? When you're copying from location to location. You could have, if the file exists already, what do you want to do? Well, I want to replace it, or I want to resume it, or rename it, whatever. Resume if you're using FTP, or skip identicals. As these problems occur during your copy, it will log the errors here, which is great, but you can set this to automatically proceed. You guys know what it's like. You queue a big copy job, you go to bed, you wake up, and 3 files in, you got a file collision. Do you want to replace or rename? You're going, damn it, I started it last night because I didn't want to wait for this thing. So that's really nice. That's something a lot of people may not pay attention to with that unattended. I would also like to turn your attention to another little feature. I'm going to go to my desktop where I happen to have, I'm sorry, this virtual machine's slower than usual. And in this virtual machine, I have another copy of these files. I got these things everywhere. Now, let's say that I'm going to take this audio and I'm going to copy it again. Well, let's call it something else. Let's make it, let's be interesting here. Sorry, the VM is very slow at this copy job. Let's call it audio 2. Well, I'll just call it 2. That's fine. I can rename it later. Now I'm going to add this. I'm going to start copying to this destination. Now, what you would expect to happen would be it would run in parallel. You might not want that, right? If I'm sending a big bunch of files to one location, oh, I just lost all my fun. Hang on. Let me copy the videos over again. And I'm going to say replace all, so it slows it down. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to start copying this over as well. See, the file operation has been successfully queued. Okay, so there's a file copy queue. Why the hell doesn't Windows have this built into the box? It's absolutely ridiculous. I have a queue that says when this one is done, do this one. And if I were to queue something up else again, I have another queued item. And another queued item. This is how you can actually, do these file operations without bogging down your network connection. Queue them. You can also change the order of the queue. And of course, if you wanted to, you could force it to run in parallel by hitting the play button. And of course, it's going to go through and do its thing. But how great is that, right? Queuing operations, and that queue looks a lot better now. If you used Directory Opus 12 before, this new queue looks a lot better. I like it a lot. You guys did good. Good job. Good job. I'm going to go ahead and cancel all of this because we're sort of done. That kind of wraps up the enhanced file copying. It sounds like there's not as much going on, but when you add it all together, again, quality of life is where Directory Opus shines. Searching enhancements. Okay, so we installed Void Tools Everything earlier. Now I get to show you why. So we all know that Directory Opus has great Windows searches, right? So you can actually do a Windows search, or you can type in freehand. I'm going to flat view, hang on a second. I'm going to flat view mixed with no folders. And what this does is, turn on again. Let me turn this back to details. And we're going to flat view, mixed view, no folders. So with this mode, and this is not new, and if you're new to Directory Opus, you'll be like, what the hell is he doing? I don't get it. So what happens is it takes this folder and completely destroys the entire file structure. There's no more folders. All there are files. So I could literally look at the entire contents of a folder and its subfolders and its subfolders and its subfolders, looking for something crazy. And it'll tell me exactly what the location is. It's in the audios folder. It's in the photos folder. It's in the videos or others folder. This is on the root because there's no location. Pretty neat, right? But in this case, I'm doing this because I want to show you how the searching thing works. So right now, if we were looking for Super Troopers 2, the mega script, right? So I'm going to be at the top. I'm going to start typing super. Okay, well, there you go. Finds in real time, and it pulls it right up to the file at hand. Now, this works in this folder. In this folder, it's searching for that item, right? Now, if, for example, I wanted to search using Opus, I could use a single quote and type in super, and look at that. It'll actually, one of my viewers actually wrote upset that it does find in real time. This is the actual behavior he wanted, which is to type it in and hit enter to get the list. Now, here's the crazy part. Let's say that I wanted to check out MP3. So I'm going to do MP3. Okay, so I've got 4 MP3s on there. What about if I was looking for across the file system? With everything installed, hit plus. Now we're doing an everything search, and I type in MP3. Wow. Look, there's MP3, but it's across the entire system. Notice I didn't put a period MP3, so it's going to pick up MP3 and everything. Now look at that. There's a whole bunch of nonsense in here. Janie, I don't know what that is. That is in assets for immersion control panel. How about that? Pretty neat, right? So you have multiple ways of searching, and that global search here is provided via everything, the application everything. I know the term is crazy. You're searching everything with everything. My head blows up. But how cool is that, right? So now you've got not only find as you type, but you also have a searchable thing. And of course, you can always use this box up here. You can definitely do other searches, a little more granular. You can use case sensitivity. You can use whole words. You can use regular expressions, right? That's fantastic. If you're a master of regular expressions, good Lord, the sky is the limit with Directory Opus. All right, so that's going to, one more thing I want to show you about that before I forget. You may notice something if you're sharp of mind and of wit. You're probably noting that these folder sizes are being computed automatically. This never happened before. It doesn't happen in File Manager or File Explorer either. So this is distinctly unique to Directory Opus 13. It didn't do it in 12 either. It used to be you could hover and it would build the size list for you. Or you could go in, right? You could go in and edit, what is it under? Sorting. This is all changed too, so I'm a little bit lost. There is an item that says always, this is killing me. I don't know where it is. There used to be an item where you could say automatically calculate folder size. Well, you don't need that anymore because it's already being done for you. And it's done automatically, right? So if I go, now we spend a lot of time in there, right? You're probably going, oh, Shane, you went into those folders, so it knows what the size is. I ain't gone into program files, and it knows how big that is. I haven't gone into Windows, it knows how big that is. If I jump into Windows, it knows how big those, notice how there was like no calculation time, all being fed from Void Tools everything. Very, very cool. And this allows you, of course, to use the other great columns that are presented in terms of size and count. Right, so you could do, well, let's see, let's see, there is one that I wanted to show you that's kind of cool. Where is it? Relative. So you can, if you're a visual kind of learner, you can use this relative size to help you determine what's using up all your frickin' space. And I didn't save that, but let's see. Let me add that again. I'm not going to keep it here permanently, but now you can get an idea, right? So this is actually, it shows you the difference. Blue is for folders, green is for files. Neat, right? So if I go into Windows, relative size of folders versus files. Pretty cool, right? I mean, quality of life, right? It's the sum of its parts. Directory Opus is a file manager, but the sum of its parts make it something so much more. All right, so there is one more area, major area, before we go to media. and that is under the find and synchronize scenario. So we're going to go into the find files and folders. Now this alone is freaking genius, right? Now we've got void tools everything, and we've got Opus searches, Windows searches, but a lot of times that's not enough, and I'll show you why. So I'm gonna click into advanced mode just so I can show you how crazy this is. This allows you to create extraordinarily detailed filters. So let's say you're searching for something very specific. I am looking for a name that matches star.mp3 and the size should be less than 10 megabytes, and it should have a, let's see, date and time that is modified within the last 1 year. Try doing that with Windows. And then you can select where you want to search, find in Windows. You can also find in all local disks, which I only have the one, so that doesn't really help, right? So you can actually set up where you want to search. Do you want to search subfolders? Do you want to avoid UAC prompts? Search archive files? Yes, please, right? And the places you want to exclude, like the recycle bin, system information. This whole pane has been redone for Directory Opus 13. Index searches show the results in the source or the destination lister, all that stuff. Now, if we actually hit find, I don't know if we're actually going to find anything, because I don't think any of my date times were modified in the last year, but maybe it will. But you see it's searching everything, right? So this could take some time. Even being backed with void tools, it's not, you can't use void tools to do things like finding something in a date time, right? So, but what we can do is you can actually do searching inside of files for text. So I could literally take some of these away. MP3 is not going to work out for us. So let's do PDFs. I'm hoping this works. I did not plan this one. And contains. Can you imagine how useful this would be if you're a coder? And it contains troopers. Because I know there's a Super Trooper script, right? Let's see what we got here. This time I'm going to turn off Windows. All I want to search for is on the desktop. That's going to make this a little bit quicker. No search results were found. That PDF is probably a scan, which means it's not going to find any text in there. Damn it. So let's see what we can do here. Let's, what's in other? Gross. All right, well, we'll cheat a little bit. Let's make a text document, and we're going to put in Shane and save it. Okay. Let's try this again. So now we're going to search for any file, just star, any file that contains Shane. And we're going to continue to look at the desktop and find. There you go. Obviously, it was going to find it. But imagine you're searching for something in code. You're searching for something in documents. There's all sorts of ways you can do this. You can even do binary searches to hunt down specific things like in DLL files. Again, not for everybody, but those who need it, Lord have mercy, you're going to want to use this stuff because it is amazing. By the way, you can also assign these as presets. I can save this preset as Find Shane. Okay, hit OK. All right, good. And I can even star it. Remember I told you there were going to be stars everywhere? All right, so now I've got Find Shane, and it's available whenever I want. So if I were to clear this, and I still needed to find Shane again, it's all here. Now, check this out. Again, quality of life stuff, little tiny things that can make a difference. Let's say you make one of these that's really complicated, right? 15 conditions in size. But you want to share that with somebody else, coworker, right? So you could send them a screenshot of all the things you did, but wouldn't it be nice if you could just share it like in plain text? Yes, you can. Edit as text. Check it out. You now have a pure text version of that search filter. You can now copy this and pop it in an email and send it to your coworker. Just the little things that just make me say thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, you can make this as complicated as you want. It's unbelievable. All right, so last but not least, because I don't want this video to be as long as my Directory Opus 13 video, let's talk about, and again, if you want to see more Opus videos, I need you to tell me, because my Opus videos don't do the same numbers as my Steam Deck videos. So if you guys are really interested, I'll spend the time and do it, but I need to hear from you. You need to tell me what it is you're looking for and what you want to see. All right, so Media Viewer. Okay, so there's a little button over here that says Viewer Pane. And that's great, right? And the viewer pane will let you fast look. So you know what I could do? I could actually flat view this, and now I have access to the entire folder structure. If I were to click on a JPEG, it does a quick view, right? So this is a nice, easy way you can use the keyboard and just flip through these and find what you're looking for if the thumbnails aren't your thing, right? You want to see something bigger. But you'll notice that it's working with PNGs, it's working with JPEGs, it's even working with this. The high efficiency format, which is a real pain. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But what if you put an MP3 in there? It'll play it. Look at that. It's actually playing it. You can skip through it, right? You can't hear it because, I got sound off. But you can do the same thing with PDFs, digital art book. Now, the PDF takes a little bit longer to load, but it's there. Sure, there you go. You can do it with MP4s, so you can do it with videos. It's great, right? And if the MP3 happen to have a cover, why, it'll pull that up for you as well. That's neat. Now, the improvements here, Opus 12 did this. All right, so you're going, Shane, what's the improvement? You're supposed to be telling us what's new. All right, well, first off, it's all based on modern API calls. There's a lot of things you would try to play in here, like an MKV or a certain type of MP4, and it would go, not going to play it. The high efficiency file format, couldn't see that either, right? So there's a lot of things that you couldn't do because of the age of the file viewer or the viewer pane. It's been completely overhauled. But there are some really neat things we can do with this that we weren't able to do before. So let's take a look here. You can actually configure your audio and video configuration. So this gives you not only a look behind the curtain, but some control behind the curtain. You can stop it from auto playing certain types of files. You can actually change playback controls, right? You can override use hotkey overrides. You can choose the type of extensions and ones you might want to block, right? There's all sorts of interesting stuff in here. But you can also edit fonts and colors for this and preferences, blah, 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 blah. So there's a ton of things you can do. This is something that's brand new as well. And cancel out of there. Now, let's see. You can also choose to override the plugins. And there's some other file level stuff you could do as well. Okay, so let me see here. Where is that guy? Okay, so if you double click on a JPEG, for example, it's going to open up the Directory Opus viewer because we selected that when we installed. Now, right now, it's like, oh, geez, it's too big. I can't see it, blah, 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 right? So you have some options here, but I want to show you something that's kind of hard to show here. I am going to take the Opus window, and I'm going to kind of put it over here, and I'm going to take this viewer, and I'm going to put it over here. Here's something kind of interesting. This is new. It's called Link to Lister. Now, I'm going to have to ask you to use your imaginations a little bit. You've got two monitors. Opus is on one monitor. Your preview pane is in the other monitor. So Link to Lister. So now this viewer is attached to this lister. Sorry, I'm going to move this back over here a little bit. Okay, so every time I change something, look at that. It's actually locking it to this view pane. And you can set the view to say, let's say view size. Let's always have it to be 25%, right? And it's so hard to show this off, but you can see as I'm changing it, it's putting it in the center. You can see it's copying everything. So you can actually turn this viewer pane off, right? Because maybe you actually want to use the rest of this stuff. And you can actually use this as a linked lister. How great is that, right? Link to lister. Amazing little quality of life improvement thanks to Opus 13. Okay, so the last few things I kind of wanted to show you outside of lister view, the photo location feature. Now, is anybody still shooting photos where they leave their GPS info in it? I hope not, right? Let's go ahead and bring this into view. Now, if you were to hover, obviously, on these images, you get a lot of data. This alone is amazing for a professional photographer. Well, this one has nothing, right? I took that as I clipped that off the internet. But if I take a picture, I get all this good stuff as part of it. That's pretty neat. But one of the things that typically is in photos you take with your camera, if you don't remove it, is GPS information. In this case, I believe I had it on. So what I can do is, look at this, locate image. What? Get out of here. Where did I take this picture? Now, if you're a professional photographer and you're not worried about being tracked, then you probably have GPS information turned on for your photos. I can use Google Maps now to tell me where I took this picture. Pretty neat, right? I took this picture at somebody's house. Wow, that's pretty neat. Of course, the locate image for this one, I don't think this one will actually do it, to be honest with you. Now, there's no GPS data, so no can do. But if you do have GPS data, locate photo is pretty cool. Now, I already mentioned things like, I mentioned AV1 support, lossless JPEG is now supported. That was something else a lot of people were complaining about. And of course, this HEIC format is now supported, right? So now you can actually bring it, full screen. You can actually bring it up into a viewer, and it'll actually do the hover over. Look at the hover over thumbnail also works. And of course, if you put it in here into thumbnail view, you can actually see it. Now, here's what's funny. Did you know that Discord will not allow you to paste an HEIC photo into Discord? It comes up with like a little pile of doo-doo, right? But wouldn't it be nice if you could share something you pulled off your camera with Discord? Well, you can. Because, as you know, if you're an old-time Directory Opus user, there's a full-blown conversion tool available to you. Now you're thinking, file manager, picture converter. That seems to be stretching it a little bit. But is it? Isn't basic file manipulation something you should be able to do with a file browser? And in this case, we can convert the image to whatever we want, right? So let's convert it to a JPEG, for example. Now this picture, well, it's still the exact same size. That's way, way too big. Oops, I just killed it completely. Right? But JPEGs will work on Discord where the other one wouldn't. You can also do batches of copying or converting. So I can grab a whole bunch of them and convert them all quickly and easily. I tell you what, that's a crowd. But you're saying, but I need control. I don't want like an 80% JPEG. I want it like a full quality JPEG. Yes, you can do that too. How do you do it? Convert image. This has also gotten a refresh for Directory Opus 13. Now you can, of course, look at this, more presets. I love you guys, man. We can create a new preset. So what are we going to preset? Well, I want it to be JPEG. I want it to be 90%, not 75. I can't handle it. Lossless JPEG? Yes, please. No cropping, no flipping. You might want to resize it though. This is going on social media or whatever. So let's make it smaller. Preserve aspect ratio, bet your ass. Replace the original file. Nah, make a copy. Oh, I can save it to the destination lister. Sweet. And you could do renames based on wildcard patterns. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You took your camera, you went to Disneyland, you shot 500 pictures, and guess what they're named? img001.heic. Using a rename on the fly while you're converting them, while you're changing their format from RAW to JPEG, you can do all of that right here in one box. Now, I'm not going to do a rename, but I am going to save this, though, as a preset. Save it. Social media. Boop. Start it. Okay, so now I can go ahead and do it. And now you can see here, the photos are here on my desktop. Here's my Y drive, and it's going to move them all right here to this root. So let's do it. There they are. All right, well, there you go. Very cool, very neat, good stuff, good stuff. Let's see, conversion presets, we talked about that. I think we're pretty much done here. Obviously, this is not an exhaustive list, but it is what I would call a pretty good look at the new features. If you want more information on these features, if you want to see me use them more or use them differently, let me know. By the way, Directory Opus continues to run in the background. You want this. It's not very heavy. It's nice and light, so I don't need to see that again. And it's going to sit right here in your sys tray for easy access. And remember, if you elected to, double-clicking the desktop will bring it right back into focus. And again, Directory Opus's team will actually have their own Directory Opus 13 video if it's not already out, which may show off a few things that I did not and show it off in a different way. Maybe my cadence bothers you or maybe my voice bothers you. So there'll be some other way that you can take a look at that. I don't know if their video is up already or not. I also want to take this opportunity to send you over to their support forums. Support forums are amazing. These, I know everybody's on Discord now. Nobody uses forums anymore. This is unbelievable stuff. You guys, everything is probably already here. I contribute to this. There's a what's new here. I wonder if this is the video that's going up. There's a highlight video. Oh, later this week. So he doesn't have his up yet. I beat him, but they're busy guys, right? So these are some highlights, right? You can see a lot of this stuff is what I've already covered with you. And some things I did not. So there you go. And I like how the highlights are in pages for easier consumption. So if you're a reader, you want to pick up more, grab that. All right, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell, blah, blah, blah. You know what to do. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you next time.